Discover the incredible transformation when she exposed her despair. I have nowhere left to go. Sarah stood behind the counter of the diner, her apron worn and faded, just like her dreams. Every order she shouted towards the kitchen felt heavier than the last, and the faces of the customers blurred into an indistinct crowd. The scent of grease mingled with the burnt coffee, and beneath the chatter, her internal turmoil screamed to be heard. Another day of double shifts stretched before her, another day of bills waiting patiently in the mailbox. All while she grasped desperately at the edges of hope, fearing it would slip away like so many forgotten ambitions. She stole a glance towards the corner booth where Lily sat hunched over her textbook, the edges of her brilliance dimmed by the isolation that plagued her at school. Did anyone even recognize her potential? Sarah's heart ached at the thought. Each grading period those A's adorned with excellent work went unnoticed in a world that favored the loud and the flashy. Was this all anyone would ever see? The waitress mother and her overlooked daughter? Or were they destined to stay flickering lights in a town that had forgotten how to shine? Lily's intelligence was a fleeting joy, mingling with Sarah's ever-present anxiety about their home. An old, creaking house that once held laughter and warmth, but was now wrapped in the cold, suffocating grip of unpaid bills. Every tick of the clock in that diner signaled more desperation. How long could they go like this? How long before eviction became their new reality? As she poured coffee for a customer who barely acknowledged her, his condescending words sliced through her thoughts, a cruel reminder of her vulnerability. "Can't you get my order right for once?" he snapped. Her hands trembled as she set the coffee down, the heat rising in her cheeks. She bit back the urge to scream, instead gritting her teeth and forcing a smile. "I'm sorry, sir." But the tears snuck out anyway, unbidden and hot. "I have nowhere left to go," she blurted out to Dana, a kind coworker with a sympathetic ear. The vulnerability of that moment hung in the air, and with it, a flicker of release. She let the sobs tumble forth, and for the first time, the thought of reclaiming her own education nagged at her, an echo of dreams long buried beneath bills and responsibilities. What if she dared to hope again? What if she took night classes? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. But with that leap came sleepless nights and relentless tension, the weight of the world pressing down on her shoulders with each homework assignment pulled from textbooks she hadn't opened in decades. Every moment spent learning pulled her further from her shifts at the diner. As hope began to flicker, so did the ominous shadow of eviction, looming just beyond the horizon, threatening to steal everything she held dear. At the library, as she poured her heart into her studies, she bumped into Professor Harris, a sharp-eyed man whose gaze lit up with recognition. "It's never too late," he said, stirring warmth deep in her resolve. Yet uncertainty flickered through her mind. Could she balance her dreams with the reality of their situation? Time felt less like a friend now, pinched between desperation and ambition. Panic surged when she looked at her daughter, her intelligent eyes lost in a world that failed to embrace her genius. Was she strong enough to nurture that brilliance, to be that mother she wanted to be? Time was running out, and as the day of the school science competition approached, they were tethered to a precipice, both laced in worry and hope. As Sarah grappled with her next move, she teetered at the edge of decision, questioning if she could lift them both up. Would her dreams of a brighter future bring light or plunge them into darker depths? In this moment of high tension, uncertainty tightened around her heart like a vice. Sarah slipped into an uneasy rhythm as she balanced her double shifts at the diner with her nightly studies. Crumpled textbooks lay scattered across the tiny kitchen table, crammed between bills and takeout menus, their cracked spines echoing her own struggle for balance. Each late night was a duel against fatigue, with the only victor often a sense of despair that washed over her like a cold wave. Yet, as she scribbled notes under the harsh fluorescent light, her resolve began to harden. When she had first approached the idea of enrolling in night classes, it had felt insurmountable. Checking the catalog had ignited a spark, but confronting it daily was an entirely different monster. Professor Harris's words still echoed in her mind, instilling a dose of courage she hadn't expected. "It's never too late." The phrase resonated deeply, but every glance at the empty space beside her during sleepless nights reminded her of what was at stake. Not just her dreams, but her daughter's future. The diner was quieter now, each tapping of the clock amplifying her thoughts. Sarah's hand shook slightly as she poured coffee. She could sense a shift in her weight, a new awareness of her surroundings. Suddenly, every glance from a patron took on new meaning. Questions bubbled up, challenging her fragile self-worth. Was she simply a waitress, defined solely by her apron and her ability to serve? Or was there more to her story, a depth still waiting to be uncovered? Lily's upcoming science competition loomed over her like a dark cloud. The weight of expectation pressed even harder on Sarah's chest each time she imagined her daughter standing in front of judges. "What if they see you?" she whispered to herself, biting her lip. She did not just worry about Lily's performance, she contemplated what it would mean for both of them. Success could mean escape from the suffocating pressure of their current life, but failure could plunge them further into despair. Determined to be there for her daughter, she decided to prepare with Lily. They spent evenings conducting experiments paired with laughter and clumsy mistakes. Sarah found joy in her daughter's passion, a transformative experience that lit a fire within her own weary heart. It was in those moments, the sharing of ideas, the exploration of science, that Sarah rediscovered pieces of herself she thought long buried. But it wasn't easy. Each failed experiment made her question not just their scientific method, but her approach to life. The gnawing uncertainty of their financial prognosis still loomed. Could they afford to pursue this dream, or would it prove fatal? Each time the doorbell rang, urgency crept into her thoughts. Bills were mounting, and every overdue notice felt like stepping closer to the edge. On one particularly tense evening, Sarah had made the decision to sit down with Lily, the tension thick in the air. "What if we don't win?" Lily asked, her eyes wide with fear. The innocence in her voice struck Sarah harder than any eviction notice ever could. "Then we learn," Sarah replied, the words flowing from her lips with an unexpected certainty. In that moment of shared vulnerability, surrounded by textbooks and broken dreams, Sarah felt something shift. Not just in her perspective, but deep within her psyche. They were seeking the light together, even if it flickered. But as the final night before the competition approached, Sarah felt an ominous weight of doubt creep in again. Could she keep fighting this battle, both for Lily and for herself? The tension around them felt heavier than ever, and just as anxiety reached a fever pitch, news arrived that could alter their path forever. A chance encounter with someone from her past promised an opportunity unlike any she had ever had before. Would she dare to grasp it, risking the foundations of their fragile stability? The moment of reckoning had arrived. Would she take the plunge into an uncertain future, or stay bound by fear? As dawn broke, casting a muted golden light through the window, Sarah felt the weight of her decision pressing against her chest. There was no doubt that her past encounter, the familiar face from her youth, slick with ambition and opportunity, had stirred something in her that she thought was long buried. The memory of his confident demeanor sat uneasily alongside her doubt and fear. Would she be able to step into that world again, after another grueling night shift, holding on to the last remnants of her energy? Sarah found herself at the small, rusted table where she and Lily usually spent their evenings. The lingering scent of coffee and burnt toast reminded her of how she often skipped breakfast just to squeeze in an extra hour of studying. She pulled the chair back and sat down, the familiar creak causing her heart to race. The stakes had never felt higher. Determined to reshape the narrative, she pulled out the business card that had been tucked away in her apron. The glossy surface gleamed under the dim light, a stark contrast to her chaotic reality. She stared at it, the bold letters of his name and the logo of a thriving company almost mocking her hesitation. With trembling fingers, she weighed her options. Would accepting his offer lead her toward the future she wanted for both herself and Lily? Or would it shatter the little stability they had managed to carve out? The day unfolded as a series of calculations. At the diner, beneath the hum of conversation and clinking of silverware, Sarah worked, but her focus was fractured. Each smile she offered to patrons felt less genuine than the last, her mind drifting to the possibilities ahead. "I'm thinking of making some changes," she had confided in her coworker Jake during a slow moment. He raised an eyebrow. "Changes how? New job? New guy?" Sarah shook her head, a nervous laugh escaping. "Just trying to find a better way." He regarded her intently, something unspoken in his gaze. "You know, sometimes jumping into the unknown can be the best decision we make. Just make sure you're ready for the leap." The words echoed in her mind as she clocked out and walked home, the weight of Jake's advice cementing her resolve. She needed to analyze her options carefully. At home, clouds hovered over their simple space like the thoughts that clung to her mind. Fighting against them, she pulled out Lily's science project notes, now filled with colorful diagrams and scribbled calculations. This wasn't just about her anymore. It was a shared dream. That evening, as they sat on the floor surrounded by the remnants of half-experiments and textbooks, Sarah felt the nervous flutter in her chest change into something more resolute. "Lily, do you think it's okay to take chances?" she asked, carefully observing her daughter's face. Lily nodded, her eyes bright. "Yeah. Sometimes taking chances leads to amazing things. Like when we discovered that the vinegar and baking soda mix made that cool volcano." A spark of inspiration ignited within Sarah. If her daughter could embrace the unknown with such openness, then why couldn't she? It was now or never. But an unsettling thought gnawed at her. If she followed this path, what would it mean for their current routine? Would her commitment to education pull away from the stability Lily relied on? The night deepened, filled with unanswered questions and heavy deliberation. Just as the clock ticked toward midnight, Sarah made a decision that could alter their lives forever. In that moment, the fear of failure intertwined with an exhilarating sense of potential. In the following days leading up to the competition, she would reach out to that familiar voice from the past. But alongside her ambition, doubt seeped in like a persistent chill. What if she unveiled her aspirations only to fall short? The thought was paralyzing. On the eve of the competition, with the project tucked under her arm, she took a deep breath, preparing for the contact that could open up new avenues, or leave them stranded again. Just as she picked up her phone, the unease within her shifted. Perhaps this was not merely a crossroads, but a chance to redefine everything she believed about herself. Would she rise to the occasion, or allow her fear to keep her shackled? As she pressed the call button, a voice echoed through her heart. This was her time to reveal the strength hidden in her vulnerability. The phone rang, each tone heightening her anticipation. And then, as the line connected, she whispered the challenge she'd been holding back. "I'm ready, but who will I really become?" Sarah felt the electric pulse of anticipation as the final ring echoed through the phone. When the voice on the other end responded, her breath caught momentarily, a mix of excitement and fear flooding her senses. "Hi, it's Sarah," she managed to say, her words trembling slightly. It was time to bridge the chasm between her past and present. The ensuing conversation blurred together, punctuated by affirmations and doubts. She spoke of her vision, her dreams for both herself and Lily, shaping her narrative into a compelling story that exaggerated her resolve while minimizing insecurity. Yet her heart betrayed her, racing each time he praised her ideas, each compliment a reminder of the high stakes at play. "Your passion is clear," he said, and her mind raced. Did he see potential in her, or was he merely flattering her for his own agenda? As they discussed potential roles, the air felt heavy with possibility, yet Sarah's subconscious prodded relentlessly. whispering doubts that lingered like a shadow. Would she truly be an asset or merely a filler for someone else's aspirations? The self-doubt crept in, but she summoned the memories of Lily's encouraging words, allowing them to fortify her resolve. After they hung up, a cascade of emotions washed over her. She had taken the leap. But with uncertainty came the nagging reality. How would this affect her day-to-day life? What routines would she have to uproot? The question loomed over her like a storm cloud. In the coming days, as preparations for the competition amplified the pressure, Sarah threw herself into creating the project, desperate to evoke not just triumph but connection with the audience. The kitchen became a laboratory of sorts. Not only was she crafting a physical creation, but she was also sculpting her identity anew. Each late-night experiment was interspersed with whispers of her hopes and fears, transforming her workspace into a realm of introspection. Once, amidst her bustling efforts, she paused to glance at a reflection in the window. A woman stared back, someone who had once stepped timidly through the world, priding herself on stability but hemorrhaging ambition. Now the glint in her eyes hinted at newfound courage, a longing to express herself beyond the confines of societal expectations. Realizing this was no simple project but a breakthrough, she felt her heart race with renewed purpose. However, as the days melded into one another, Sarah faced the weight of looming choices that tested her commitments to Lily. How much time was too much? Would her daughter still feel secure and prioritized? The guilt crept in, demanding attention even as she determinedly forged ahead. She decided to speak to Lily openly. "Hey, sweetheart, do you remember how we talked about taking chances?" Sarah asked one evening as they sat sprawled on the living room floor with crayons scattered around. Lily nodded, those bright eyes focused intently on her mother. "Yeah, your chance. Just like my volcano." "Yes," Sarah said, swallowing hard against the knot in her throat. "But my chance means I might have to work more. It could take a long time before we see what's next. Are you okay with that?" Lily's contemplative pause felt heavy, and Sarah's gut twisted in anxiety. Then her daughter brightened as the light of understanding dawned on her. "If you find amazing things, it will be worth it." That affirmation struck a chord deep within Sarah. Their dreams were intertwined, her ambitions fueled by the love she had for Lily. In that moment of vulnerability shared between them, Sarah understood that her journey was as much about becoming a role model as it was about discovering her own pathway. As competition day dawned, Sarah stood before their project, heart pounding. The culmination of weeks of effort, both physical and emotional, was about to be laid bare. Anxiety threatened to unravel her, but she held on. "Remember," she whispered to herself, "this is just the beginning." Each step toward the front of the room felt monumental. People were waiting to witness her metamorphosis, to see if she would rise or stumble. And as she approached the judges, doubt twisted into a quiet mantra within her mind. "This is your moment. Define it." In that crucial moment, she felt the unmistakable charge of potential coursing through her veins. But before she could seize it, a doubt pricked at her conscience. What if this transformation wasn't enough? That question hung in the air, a lingering shadow just waiting to extinguish her burgeoning flame. But as the first words left her lips, she realized it was time for the answer. Would she truly elevate herself to new heights? Or would the echo of past failures drown her aspirations once again? The silence in the room amplified Sarah's racing thoughts like a relentless drumbeat. With each breath, the weight of her aspirations pressed down on her chest, constraining her words even as the audience's eyes bore into her. She fought against the rising tide of self-doubt, the nagging voice in the back of her head whispering failures of the past. Would this moment reveal her potential or unmask her inadequacies? Her gaze flitted over the judges, their sharp eyes never wavering as they scrutinized her. This wasn't just a presentation. It was her declaration of intent, her stance against the narratives that had imprisoned her for years. She was ready to step into the light, but an undercurrent of fear swirled within. "Thank you for this opportunity," she began, her voice steadier than she felt. "Today I want to share the journey that brought me here, a journey littered with doubts yet illuminated by hope. The choice to share her story instead of the polished project details felt risky, yet it felt right. This was her moment of authenticity, a chance to connect deeply. Her hands trembled slightly as she unfolded the pages that contained not just facts or figures, but fragments of her heart. She discussed the struggles of balancing motherhood with ambition, the sacrifices made for both her dream and Lily's well-being. Each experience was crucial, forming the backbone of her identity. As she continued, Sarah watched the judges exchange glances. Was it skepticism or contemplation she saw? Each nod from them propelled her forward, igniting the resolve that had ignited within her kitchen during the late-night sessions. She spoke of her first prototype, the failures, the countless revisions, and the determination that grew from those stumbles. It was a catapulting force, each setback not a halt, but a lesson steeped in resilience. But then came the turning point in her narrative. It was time to reveal the depth of her fear and the clarity that rose from it. I have often found myself at the crossroads of ambition and doubt, she shared, the lump in her throat both constraining and liberating. Days turned into nights filled with questions. Would I be enough? Could I support both my dreams and my daughters? And in those moments I realized, I have nowhere left to go but forward. The only true failure would be to abandon my pursuit. The weight of her honesty hung in the air, palpable and raw. She felt countless eyes softening, perhaps even relating to that unguarded fear. The emotional intimacy ignited a quiet shift among the audience, a shared understanding that turned her initial dread into a source of empowerment. When she finished, a brief silence engulfed the room. Her heart raced not from fear but from an exhilarating sense of liberation. She knew she had laid bare her vulnerability, exposing a part of herself fraught with uncertainty but also strength. Then slowly, one of the judges leaned forward. Thank you for sharing your journey, Sarah. It's refreshing to witness such authentic emotion in a presentation. But tell us, aside from this competition, what is your ultimate goal? The question struck her like an unexpected blow. For a brief moment she faltered. Yet as she locked eyes with the judge, clarity surged. My ultimate goal, she began, is to redefine what success looks like for my daughter and for myself. It's about courage, embracing the messiness of life while striving for something greater. As she spoke, she felt anchored in her truth, her path illuminated ahead. This was no longer merely about winning, it was about transformation, both hers and the message she could impart to Lily. With each word that followed, she forged her narrative into a powerful beacon of possibility. But as they released her, Sarah grappled with newfound questions that emerged from this experience. Had she truly let go of her fears? Or had she merely masked them with courage? And in presenting herself so openly, what new challenges would confront her next? The anticipation of answers hung in the air. She had turned the page. But what awaited her in the next chapter of this unfolding story? The echo of applause lingered in Sarah's ears as she stepped away from the podium, her heart still racing but filled with a newfound resilience. As the door swung shut behind her, the chaos of the room faded into the background, replaced by the quiet hum of her thoughts. The vulnerability she'd revealed hadn't just been a part of her presentation. It felt like a seismic shift within her spirit. Yet as the adrenaline wore off, a creeping unease seeped back in. The real test awaited her beyond the bright lights and watchful eyes of the judges. In those moments of raw honesty, had she left her scars open to be probed, or had she fortified her resolve? The vulnerability that once frightened her now felt strangely liberating, but the echoing question remained. What would this transformation demand of her moving forward? Back home, Sarah found solace in her children's laughter, the sweet, unadulterated joy radiating from Lily as she played on the living room floor. Watching her daughter, a wave of resolve washed over Sarah. This same giggling child represented everything she was striving for. A legacy, a future molded by strength and authenticity instead of fear. Yet that desire pushed her to confront her lingering doubts. That evening, while preparing dinner, the weight of expectations began to loom over her once more. The kitchen, Her sanctuary during innumerable trials suddenly felt suffocating. Each chop of the knife echoed her internal deliberation. Could she navigate this new phase of her life? She had promised to redefine success, but at what cost? Instead of succumbing to anxiety, Sarah took the knife and began cutting vegetables methodically. It was a grounding ritual, one that calmed her racing mind. But as she rearranged the chopped ingredients, her thoughts drifted to the presentation. The judges' faces, the captivated audience, and the confrontation she'd had with her own fears. That moment of clarity still burned vividly within her. What if her honesty opened doors she never expected? Just as the thought cemented itself, her phone buzzed beside her with a new message notification. "Sarah, that was a powerful presentation. Can we talk about collaborating on a project that aligns with our goals?" The name flashing across the screen sent a jolt of surprise and excitement through her core. Jenna, a local entrepreneur she admired, wanted to collaborate? The opportunity felt both thrilling and terrifying. Would this be a chance to take her vision further? Or another reminder of her inexperience among seasoned professionals? An internal debate raged, alternating between exhilaration and disbelief. Her mind wrestled with the familiar doubts. Did she have enough experience? Was she ready for such a commitment? But then she remembered her daughter's laughter, the very essence of her why. This was the time to act, to put the vulnerability she'd embraced to test. Taking a deep breath, she set down the knife and typed a response. "I would love to discuss this further. When can we meet?" The send button felt like a leap of faith. With it, she initiated a process to transform her aspirations, not just for herself, but for her daughter to see. After sending the message, a thrill coursed through her veins. Here was a new challenge, an avenue to embrace rather than shy away from. Yet along with the exhilaration came a stark realization. This was not merely about collaboration. It was an invitation to confront her own limitations again. Would she rise to this occasion or retreat once more into familiar self-doubt? As night fell and she tucked Lily into bed, Sarah felt the weight of her choices analyzing itself through her heart. In committing to this meeting, she had chosen to stand vulnerable yet empowered, ready to confront not just the present, but the shadows of her past fears. The journey she was on had become more than just redefining success. It was about taking proactive steps toward her vision despite the risks. What awaited her in this possible collaboration could very well become the foundation of her reinvention. But would her fears cloud her newfound determination once more? Sarah closed her eyes, contemplating the leap she had taken just a few moments earlier. The path ahead now shimmered with promise yet bristled with uncertainty. A new dialogue was about to unfold, and amidst the excitement, the persistent voice of doubt lurked again. The question loomed: could she stand firm when faced with the formidable adversities ahead? Tomorrow would come with its own challenges, but she was ready to face them, one step at a time. Before the sun rose the next morning, Sarah found herself awake, a whirlwind of thoughts competing for her attention. The unfamiliar excitement about the collaboration with Jenna felt like an electric current coursing through her veins. Yet threads of self-doubt intertwined with her anticipation, forming a persistent knot in her stomach. What if Jenna realized that Sarah wasn't nearly as qualified as she seemed? While preparing breakfast, she replayed their conversation in her mind, analyzing every word. Jenna's confidence radiated from the screen and eventually settled on Sarah like a mantle of responsibility. This was an opportunity, but it also felt like an examination. As Lily devoured her cereal, Sarah's thoughts turned inward. Would she let this opportunity become another platform for her insecurities? Or could she mold it into a stepping stone for her growth? The stakes were high. Stepping into this collaboration meant exposing herself to new challenges, a world she had only peered into through the lens of her aspirations. Despite the chilling fear gripping her, Sarah resolved to channel it into preparation. If she was going to meet with Jenna, she needed clarity about her vision and how her skills could complement Jenna's expertise. The kitchen, which had felt stifling just the night before, now transformed into a workspace filled with possibility. She grabbed a notebook and began freely jotting down ideas, key concepts, potential projects, and even her thoughts on what made her unique. As her hand moved across the pages, thoughts crystallized, and her worries morphed into strategies. Each line was a testament to the evolution of her mindset from doubt to a burgeoning sense of purpose. With each word, she discovered hidden competencies she had overlooked during her self-reflection. Her history as a creative problem solver began to surface. All those times she navigated challenges at work while juggling motherhood. The idea of harnessing her experiences and translating them into a collaborative project felt empowering. Suddenly, she could feel the weight of expectation lift. She possessed not only a vision, but also the skill set to help bring it to life. As the clock ticked closer to the meeting time, Sarah took solace in the knowledge that it was okay to embrace what she didn't know. The key lay in her ability to adapt and learn from Jenna, who had walked this path longer. A realization washed over her like a balm. She was not just seeking validation, but an alliance built on shared growth. The drive to the cafe felt surreal, each moment punctuated by a blend of adrenaline and dread. Sarah rehearsed the points she wanted to convey, but as she approached the entrance, each step served as a visual reminder of her commitment to growth. Walking through those doors represented her choice to confront uncertainty head-on. When Jenna arrived, the warmth of her smile momentarily dissolved Sarah's anxiety. They exchanged pleasantries, but within moments the conversation shifted to the project, and Sarah's pulse quickened. Jenna's enthusiasm was infectious. Each idea shared igniting inspiration within Sarah. Yet just as the exchange reached a crescendo, Jenna paused, studying Sarah intently. "What do you hope to achieve with this collaboration?" she asked, her tone expectant. Abruptly, Sarah's mind went blank, the weight of the question casting a shadow on their vibrant discussion. Would this be the moment that revealed her uncertainty? Or could she recapture the momentum she had just built? Deep down, Sarah felt the tension rise. This was the moment, an opportunity to fully articulate her vision and embrace the vulnerability she had displayed recently. Could she step beyond her comfort zone, or would she retreat into silence? The choice hung in the air like a charged particle, pulsating with potential. Time stretched, and Sarah pressed her palms against the table, feeling the cool surface solidify her intentions. She had come too far to back down now. This was her moment to confront not just Jenna, but her own fears. "Let me tell you what I hope to achieve," she began, her voice embedding itself within the rising confidence of her own narrative. As she spoke, she felt a piece of her former self, the self that hesitated, stepped back. What lay ahead was a chance to redefine not only her career but her identity as well. But just as she felt she was gathering momentum, Jenna's expression shifted, and Sarah realized a tough question hung just behind those bright eyes. What acknowledgement would this lead to? And would she be prepared for the repercussions of her newfound honesty? As the words tumbled from Sarah's lips, she felt a strange combination of liberation and dread. Engaging Jenna in this way meant tearing down the walls she had meticulously built around herself. Walls constructed from fears of inadequacy and past failures. Would her raw honesty resonate with Jenna, or would it expose her vulnerabilities in a way that left her feeling more isolated? Jenna leaned in closer, her gaze unwavering. "That's a powerful vision, Sarah. But tell me, how do you plan to overcome the obstacles you've mentioned?" The question landed like a heavy stone in still water, creating ripples of unease. Sarah's mind raced, a combination of inspiration and self-doubt carrying her thoughts in all directions. She sought clarity amid the chaos, trying to transform her vulnerabilities into viable answers. Well, she stammered, grappling for words that seemed to slip through her fingers like sand. The best part of her vision was its potential, yet she recognized that planning without a strategy could lead to disappointment. I think I can map out a timeline, set specific goals that will keep us accountable, and I want to incorporate feedback loops to ensure we adapt as we grow." Jenna's expression softened, a hint of admiration dancing across her features. "That sounds promising, but how does that tie into your personal growth?" Sarah desperately wanted to connect the dots but felt unsteady on this new path. Her insecurities occasionally invaded her thoughts, causing her to doubt whether her experiences were enough to push through. She inhaled deeply, allowing the air to fill her lungs, and steadied herself in the moment. I guess it's about creating a balance. I've been juggling so much between my work and personal life that I've learned to pivot quickly. With the right structure, I can turn chaos into creativity, she said slowly, layering strategies with personal anecdotes. As she spoke, the internal shifts within her crystallized into clarity, each word serving as a bridge between the self she had known and the evolving identity she envisioned. Jenna nodded appreciatively but pressed further. And what inspires you to take those risks? Where does this newfound courage come from? For a moment, Sarah hesitated, feeling a waterline of tears threatening to breach her emotional dam. Although her words could act like armor, they also left her exposed. I think it's the realization that staying comfortable won't lead me anywhere. I've been stagnant for too long and it's suffocating. The fear of failing is now being overshadowed by the fear of not trying, she admitted, her voice trembling slightly. Jenna's smile widened, and for the first time, Sarah felt a true connection. This conversation was no longer about impressing her colleague. It was about forging a partnership grounded in authenticity and shared aspirations. Now you're hitting the heart of it. Growth requires discomfort, Jenna affirmed, her voice warm and encouraging. But what does that look like for you in practical terms? Fired up by the exchange, Sarah outlined a bold plan, not just for the project but also for her personal development. She would take small steps every week, pushing through challenges that previously shut her down. She envisioned networking events, personal workshops, exploring new avenues outside her comfort zone. Instead of being a passive participant in her life, she would become an active architect of her future. As they wrapped up the conversation, Jenna seemed impressed and even moved. You have a fire in you, Sarah. Embrace it. Let's nurture this project together. With those words, a sense of camaraderie washed over her, but just as quickly, a new wave of anxiety threatened to creep back. How would she sustain this momentum? Was she truly prepared for the potential pitfalls? Driving home, Sarah's mind churned with a whirlwind of excitement and apprehension. What if she failed to meet expectations, both her own and Jenna's? The prospect of standing at the edge of her potential stirred a thrilling anxiety within her. Yet even as those doubts churned, she felt a kernel of belief solidifying within. This could be her turning point, not just within the collaboration, but within every facet of her life. And that realization lit a spark of determination. She liked the sound of that. Arriving home, she caught a glimpse of her reflection in the hallway mirror, a juxtaposition of uncertainty and resolve. Who was she now? Would she be ready to confront the challenges that lay ahead? As she settled in, a text from Jenna buzzed on her phone. Let's set up a follow-up next week. I want to hear about your progress. This inquiry, rooted in genuine interest, reignited the tension of anticipation within Sarah. Would she be able to rise to the occasion and showcase the growth she now envisioned? But more pressing remained. Could she actually pave a path not just for the project but for her own personal revolution? Sarah awoke the next morning with the sunlight streaming through her window, bathing her room in a warm glow. The radiance felt like a deliberate invitation to embrace the day ahead. She lingered in bed, contemplating the previous evening's conversation with Jenna. Each word weaved into her mind, sparking a flicker of determination that battled against her ever-hovering self-doubt. With a resolve she hadn't felt in years, Sarah pushed herself up and began to outline her personal development plan. Sitting at the kitchen table, papers strewn about like colorful leaves in the autumn wind, she became lost in thoughts more focused and clearer than ever before. She started with a list of personal goals, not just those that benefited the project with Jenna, but individual targets that spoke to her core. The first item was confronting her fear of public speaking. Caught in a whirlwind of anxiety at the thought, she closed her eyes, the familiar knot forming in her stomach. Yet, the realization that the potential for growth outweighed her reluctance sparked an idea. She would join a local Toastmasters group. This community, known for nurturing speaking skills in a supportive environment, filled her with a mix of excitement and fear. But she knew, for her own growth, this would be essential. Next, she tackled networking. A thought she had long associated with dread transformed into a potential opportunity. She determined to attend at least one professional event each month. Reaching out to those around her, picking up the phone to arrange these meetings, stirred an exhilarating adrenaline rush. What colors might these connections add to the blank canvas of her life? Yet even as the momentum built, a small nagging voice in the back of her mind whispered, "What if they see through your facade?" Pushing it aside, Sarah actively turned her thoughts toward her talent for creativity, something often suppressed by her insecurities. Crafting a plan to tap into her artistic side pushed those shadows away. Days drifted into the week, and as she donned her professional attire every morning, she felt more like a character in a transformational story than the passive protagonist of her own life. Jenna's text had lit a fire under Sarah, and she found herself eagerly waiting for the follow-up conversation. On the day prior to their meeting, Sarah felt a nervous flutter in her stomach. "This is not just about the project," she reminded herself, pacing in her small apartment. "It's also about unveiling the authentic me." But what preparation could adequately arm her for the vulnerabilities that lay ahead? With her impulse to retreat into safety ebbing, she prepared notes, jotting down reflections on her development journey, acknowledging both victories and the challenges still to come. By confronting her fears head-on, she felt she had begun to build a new narrative, one that would showcase resilience instead of retreating back into the shadows. However, as the clock ticked toward their planned meeting, an all-too-familiar wave of anxiety washed over her. What if she had fabricated an image of growth that could not stand the scrutiny? Struggling with imposter syndrome, her thoughts turned darker, spiraling into doubts about her worthiness. Am I really capable of transforming my life? Or am I just dressing up the same old insecurities in new clothes? In those final moments before Jenna arrived, Sarah felt a pull between her eagerness to show her progress and the fear of being found out, an endless cycle of self-sabotage echoing in her mind. Would she be able to share her journey authentically? Or would she cling tightly to the facade of competence that seemed to be all she had left? The doorbell interrupted her spiral, and she inhaled deeply as she readied herself to confront not only Jenna, but her own emerging self. The discussion ahead loomed large, representing a crossroads in her evolution. Could she truly embrace the risks of sharing her vulnerabilities, or would fear dictate her choices once again? As Sarah opened the door, a charged silence filled the space between them. Both women poised on the edge of something transformative. Would this exchange lead to empowerment? Or would it unveil the core of her despair? As Sarah welcomed Jenna into her home, she felt a surge of anticipation mixed with apprehension. This conversation represented a pivotal moment. It was not merely about the project, but also about unearthing her authentic self. There was no turning back now. "Thanks for inviting me in," Jenna chimed, her tone upbeat and steady. As they settled down, Sarah could feel her heart race. Was she ready to delve into her progress and lay bare the challenges she still faced? The weight of vulnerability hung heavy, but it was also exhilarating. "Let's talk about where you are with your development plan," Jenna initiated with genuine enthusiasm. Sarah's earlier fears ebbed slightly. This was a collaborative dialogue, not an interrogation. Gathering her thoughts, Sarah began to share the steps she had taken, joining the Toastmasters group to tackle public speaking and her commitment to networking events. With each detail shared, she felt the heavy cloak of self-doubt slowly lift from her shoulders. For a moment, she could see herself through Jenna's approving gaze, and that alone fueled her resolve. "That's fantastic," Jenna exclaimed, genuine pride lighting her features. "Embracing visibility is crucial. I love that you're stepping out of your comfort zone." Encouraged by Jenna's reaction, Sarah opened up about her initial hesitations, revealing snippets of the self-critique that had plagued her for years. "I was always so afraid of not being enough," she admitted, feeling the warmth of authenticity anchor her grounded. "But I realized that the greatest failure would be not trying." Jenna nodded, the understanding in her eyes validating Sarah's journey. "You're right. People are often gravitated toward the stories of vulnerability. Yours resonates because it mirrors the human experience. Your willingness to share that is what will inspire others." For the first time, Sarah perceived her struggles as a shared narrative rather than a personal burden. This feeling of unity ignited a confidence within her. Here, sitting beside Jenna, she was not defined by past failures or the weight of expectations. This was her transformation, an unfolding story that had room for imperfection as well as growth. Despite the positive exchange, a lingering voice of doubt still rustled within her. But what if I'm not up to the expectations? Can we truly create something groundbreaking together? She hesitated, her voice tinged with uncertainty. Sarah, Jenna interjected, her tone soft yet resolute. Every person has their strengths. My belief in you is unwavering, but what matters is your belief in yourself. You have a unique perspective to offer, and it's time to embrace that. You need to own your narrative. In that moment, a clarity surged through Sarah. She had spent too long shunning her own truth, allowing fear to define her narrative. Instead of worrying about the perceived limitations, she could focus on the potential that lay ahead. Let's not just create a project, Jenna continued. Let's focus on building a community, one rooted in shared experiences and authentic connections. When we embrace our narratives, we dismantle the barriers of isolation that so many feel. The spark of a new direction ignited within Sarah. The idea of not merely working on a project but actively building a narrative community resonated profoundly. Each of the obstacles she had faced now transformed into stepping stones toward an even richer journey than she had envisioned. The weeks flowed into a blur of purpose as Sarah immersed herself in the collaboration with Jenna. The energy infused in their discussions transcended beyond mere project development. It became an exploration of identity, a portrait of resilience painted through shared highs and lows. They strategized their outreach, aiming not just for products, but for connections that echoed deeper societal themes. Their project flourished as they organized workshops where personal stories became the foundation of collective experiences. Attendees sought solace in the shared understanding of vulnerabilities, which slowly knitted them into a robust community. Sarah, empowered by Jenna's partnership, found herself conducting workshops, once a daunting prospect, but now a privilege. One evening, as she hosted a session, she stood to address the crowd. The familiar anxiety flared, but instead of dread, she felt a warm vulnerability, a strength in sharing her journey openly. Every word spoken was a testament to her evolution, each story she recounted reinforcing not just her ambition but the very essence of her newfound identity as a bridge builder. As applause filled the room, accompanied by genuine feedback and gratitude, Sarah felt a wave of fulfillment wash over her. She had stepped into the light, shedding layers of self-doubt and embracing both her fears and triumphs. Weeks later, as she curates the project's features online, the feedback was overwhelming. They not only sparked conversations, but ignited transformations within various individuals across their network. Clients turned into advocates, their voices creating ripples of change. Looking back at her past self, Sarah could scarcely recognize the version of herself cloistered in fear. She emerged now as a beacon of possibility, radiating strength, intention, and an unwavering commitment to authenticity. The wishes she had for Lily felt tangible now. The vision was no longer a distant dream. It was alive and real, woven into the fabric of their daily lives. In those quiet moments, when they worked together on Lily's science projects, or reflected on Sarah's experiences, they became allies, each encouraging the other to take leaps of faith. In the vibrant landscape Sarah had cultivated, she had not only reclaimed her own aspirations but also served as a guide for her daughter. Together they faced challenges with confidence, unearthing pieces of their shared narrative that echoed strength in the face of vulnerability. This journey was not merely about conquering fears, it was the alchemy of transformation, an evolution from feeling lost to standing tall, balanced on the precipice of promise and fulfillment. Sarah's realization dawned clearly. The future was bright, filled with promise and allowed growth alongside uncertainty. She had shifted the lens through which she viewed herself. The narrative was hers to shape, a testament to resilience, vulnerability, and ultimately, personal achievement. Now it was time to forge ahead and embrace into the unknown. She had proven to herself that she could conquer any challenge. As the legacy of transformation unfolded, a simple yet profound message emerged. Growth begins where fear ends. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Your support means everything. Comment your reactions and theories about this conclusion. Your voice matters. Share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see this inspiring journey. Don't wait even one more second to share. Only true fans of personal overcoming stories understand the importance of supporting our channel through these actions.